This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneur of the Playbook, and I have an incredible guest, Murphy Jensen, the CEO and co-founder of, or just co-founder?
Just co-founder.
Just co-founder of WEconnect Health Management.
Correct.
And I think your company has something to do with what you're most passionate about. I'm just taking a guess.
Well, what I'm most passionate about is helping people. And that's what attracts me to the work you do. But helping people in a specific space, which is substance use disorder, addiction, behavioral health. We design technology to prevent relapse from drug and alcohol addiction. In today's world, with the opioid epidemic, addiction epidemic, it's important work today.
Yeah, and I think, most people don't understand how mass the problem is. I was reading one of the most frustrating, I know frustration's an ego-based emotion, article about the number one cause of death of 50-year-old and under in America is suicide.
Yeah.
And the majority of suicides are caused because of alcohol or drug abuse.
Yeah, self-medication.
Self-medication. And in some way, a majority of those. And so, here we are, the intent is to be happy and to live, and yet most people aren't living to halfway point because of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, or checking out of the here and now. Addiction can manifest in gambling. It can manifest in overwork. I think and feel that our society's biggest problem is the uncomfortability of being where they're at. It could be food, it could be sex, shopping. This is going to fix it.
Do you think so? Just as a little background too, you won the French Open in 1993. Yeah.
1893. Christopher Columbus was my coach.
So 1993. And
yes. No.
And top of your game. But we were talking about something we both experienced, that the whole world thought we were amazing from the outside, and we were dying.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thought that I had winning the French Open should be what you see on TV, which is a locker room with champagne flowing and all those things. But in family coming in, and agents and the team and the managers. But I sat there in the locker room in Paris, France. It's not like a team sport locker room where you see 50, 60 people. It's actually just you and your opponent. And in my case, my brother and I and our opponents, and maybe some locker room attendants. And I remember my hand shaking. Why is that? Why would my hands be shaking? Maybe I should ask you.
Yeah.
For me, it was, oh man, now the world is going to see me for me. And my insides didn't match my outsides. The outside, for that day, I was the best in the world. But my inside is, now the jig's up.
Yeah.
I don't have the self-worth. I don't deserve this. This isn't of me. Now where do I go? And I think, that mountain I climbed was based on fear and ego.
Right. And ego and fear. Ego is the fear of loss. Void shortages and obstacles, a lot of people fill with addictive behaviors. Now, I have a different concept to run by you. I was really excited to meet with you because you're a recovering addict.
Yep.
You run a business to help recovering addicts.
Yep. And
I am someone who believes in my New Year's resolution almost every year is to be more consistent.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And consistency sometimes get confused with addiction.
Yeah, I mean, the three biggest words in my recovery is I am responsible. Mm-hmm. I am responsible. Prior to recovery, I had anything but responsibility. I wasn't showing up not only for life, for my loved ones and the people around me, but I didn't show up for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm responsible for me today. And by doing the work that's necessary to stay clean and sober another day, to be of maximum service to, the people in the world around me, us, that's what I got to do.
In pain management, whether it's emotional pain, psychological pain, or physical pain. All three are a cause of opiate addiction, right? People, I remember Jeff Klein's son, I forget his name, at USC, had a back injury, ended up on opiates, and then a heroin addiction, which he just can't kick.
I want to say 80% of heroin users started with a pain medication. That's somewhere in there. And, you think you're going in for a blown knee or a shoulder or even to the dentist, and you come out a heroin addict? How does that happen? And we've learned a lot.
And the hardest one is you mentioned, which is a common thing that I business coach about, is worthiness, right?
Totally.
And the more successful you are, the more it exposes your own reality of worthiness.
Yeah.
Because people think either too high of you or too low of you, which both will question your worthiness. If someone thinks too low of you, it puts a standard of, I'm not going to stand for this. I'm far too worthy to be around that, right? And you don't want to surround yourself with a lower energy or lower thoughts.
Yeah.
But the same occurs when you hit the pinnacle, right? And for both of us, I think it's a lot of pressure when the insides don't match the outside and there's this void. What that pain, how can we help people deal with that separation? Because the ego is that separation. How can we help them deal with it? Or how do you, with WEconnect Health Management, help them deal with that reality that exists at some degree with 100% of the people, but now is impacting a lot of people, especially in America?
With relapse rates being 85% for people leaving a treatment center or a hospital system within the first year, there's got to be a better way. And how are we not using this phone of ours? We use it for every other. We need food, we look at the phone. We need directions, we look at the phone. We need anything. We want to find out about you.
Dave Meltzer video,
phone.
Yeah, exactly.
We look at your phone. Look at your phone. Why wouldn't we use this phone in the same way where we can support our recovery? And that's mind, body, spirit activities. It's been proven that contingency management, which we digitized within our software, improves outcomes. Rewarding someone for staying on track and compliant to their health plan. We digitize health plans, and we're focused on addiction recovery today. But back to the question, I think the biggest thing for me is separating the truth from the false of what's going on, not in my life, in my mind. And how do you do that? You better find someone you can open up to, expose yourself, and that's hard to do. There are a lot of therapists out there that have reoccurring customers because they're unwilling to share some of their secrets. What's my secret, Murph? Because the question I have for myself is, how free do I want to be? The more honest, the more open-minded, the more you surrender. The more I surrender, the more I win. That's been the baseline backbone of my recovery. The more I surrender. And at first, and in athletics, the great shift in my life has been, which no one would believe, because I got the opportunity to coach a world team tennis team, Billie Jean King's League. In Washington, D.C., and I had Venus Williams, Serena Williams, Martina Hingis, maybe 15 Hall of Famers on this team. And my first mentor in coaching this team was our dear friend Scott G. His suggestion was be of service. And then my next mentor was Tommy Lasorda. And I said, Tommy, I'm about to coach my first team. What advice can you give me? 53 years in the majors, this guy knows teams. And he didn't say practice more than your opponents. He didn't say draft the best team. He says, if you can get your team to play for one another, protect one another, love one another like a family, you can't lose. And I'm like, what? This is Tommy Lasorda. I'll go with it. That's going to be the backbone of our culture. Why I bring that up is that at matches, when we got the longest winning streak in the history of professional sports with 34 wins, taking out the Lakers 33, that was the mantra within the team. And I went so far as in praying for my opponents. I never mentioned the word win or lose. I never mentioned, it was all about what can I give? The more I give this world, the more I get from this world, and that's just the truth.
It's interesting because two of the things I tell people in my coaching when they have these difficulties with others, opponents, and some aren't even human, right? We have opponents that exist in our ego.
Yeah.
And I said there's two critical things. One is to understand it. Start with understanding, not attack.
Yeah.
Right? When you start with attack, you're going to be attacked, right? And we see that in tennis, right? What comes after if you have a hard hitting attack?
Yeah, someone
it
hits a huge serve.
Yeah, it's coming
you know.
back. Second thing from understanding too is to pray for the happiness of that attack, of that opponent.
Yeah.
Instead of creating resistance, right?
Yeah.
We take all the energy away from our opponent
Yeah.
when we pray for it.
Yeah.
When we pray, we give it energy.
I pray for the will of the universe, not my will. I'm going to get my own way. And had I told the universe that winning a championship was the goal this season, we would not have won 6 out of 7 and 5 in a row in that long winning streak. God, would I miss the boat.
Right.
So I don't tell the world or myself what this interview is supposed to feel, look, act like, whatever. I ask for the right guidance, direction, and protection.
To that note,
With Dave.
there's a lot of resistance out there. People will watch this and say, man, those two guys are kind of woo-woo. They're way out there. What are they talking about? How can we effectively communicate? There's no one in my experience more resistant than an addict. Mm-hmm. There's defensive. Denial.
Yeah.
Right? And that's
in
why
the throes of the disease.
Right.
You remove the drugs and alcohol, now we can get down to the causes and conditions of what's really going on. It was never about drugs and alcohol. I grew up in an alcoholic home. I was a very frightened child prior to my dad getting sober himself. He'd go away on the weekend, one dad, come home on Sunday, a completely different guy, and I was terrified. We had a very scary house. Luckily, he found recovery. That changed the trajectory of our lives. But here I was, this frightened child, standing on the center court at Wimbledon or the French Open or anywhere else. I'm uncomfortable in my own skin. So recovery gave me some tools. Just about everything that you share with your audience that supports not only my recovery, I don't even think about drugs and alcohol. That's the beauty of it. The obsession to drink and use has been removed for some reason. And it really came down to when my knees hit the floor and I was out of options, I did the thing I was most terrified to do, and that was ask for help.
Yeah. The best thing you could ever do.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought everything I knew about recovery or addiction was wrong. Looking back of what I thought, I hated myself that this is where my life had taken me, and that my best thinking, my scorecard read 0 on the inside out. And people say, what's your moment of clarity, Murphy? And the moment of clarity was I was dying with drugs and alcohol, and I was dying without drugs and alcohol.
Right. In the obsessive behavior, I think, I saw this with my own father, who was a compulsive gambler. I saw this, right, whatever your issue is, that you use your obsessive behavior to be the world's best. I truly believe you cannot be the world's best at something without being obsessed about it.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Right? And so how do we distinguish the obsessive behavior of something that can be put towards a positive? Right, I see people in charity all the time. My mom is obsessive about helping other people.
Yeah.
To her detriment.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, and how do we separate, though, that behavior that made us the world's best from, okay, well, I have pain, so how to heal the pain would have to be to obsess on healing the pain. And we end up picking things, unfortunately, that are addictive as well.
Yeah, if I'm going to be obsessed with anything, I should start with my recovery.
Yeah.
Get as much information, as much knowledge, and be as open-minded. It's for me, the way is not having a way. Like, I'm not going to tell myself what success looks like. I think that should be redefined in itself. But, I've known, like you, so many professional athletes that were driven by fear. You could be in the boxing ring, the heavyweight champion of the world, and I know some heavyweight champs that were driven by fear. They grew up in really rough conditions as children.
Mike Tyson has lost his fear. He couldn't fight today if he tried, but there's no one more dangerous in a ring when he was 19.
Right.
Right.
And I've actually heard him share that fear. And I'm like, of all people, that's the last thing you'd think that generated, that fear of losing what you've got or not getting what you want is self-centered fear, in my opinion. And, you can use it for good or for ego. In my case, my job is only to serve in every area of my life. Where I have to be careful is when I get in my way and I'm up here. I don't know if you ever have stress, but I still, anxiety and stress show up.
Yeah.
And I manage that stress through a little meditation. I couldn't meditate, take a breath, one breath, forget about 20 minutes. That was a deep breath.
Right.
And, today I'm able to sit still, sit comfortably in my skin, and not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow might not happen.
Yeah.
We're able to live right here, right now, moment to moment, heartbeat to heartbeat, not really worrying about. And then I'm able to experience the magic,
This has all been great theory, but you have a practical business.
Yeah.
There's a ton of employees back here.
Yeah.
Right, and I always make the joke, don't like someone, wish upon them a ton of employees and overhead.
Yeah.
But on the pragmatic side, you have to be able to not only create a solution that can help people through WEconnect Health Management, but moreover, you have to get people to use it.
Yeah. Engagement.
What's the key? Because I think whether your solution or some other, I'd say about athletes and their financial health, I get tons of people hitting me up going, oh, I really care about athletes. Let me take care of their finances.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the issue. There's plenty of stuff out there to help athletes, but how do you get them to engage? Or, when the NFL blamed those guys going, hey, we have a free car service. Why would you drink and drive? Well, maybe you're not teaching them to make a plan when they're going to drink to get home first.
Yeah.
Like order the car, because who orders the car when you're drunk?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I think recovery isn't for people that need it. It's for people that want it.
Good.
And what's going to produce behavior change for me is I was in enough pain to be willing to go to any lengths for my recovery. Now, for those that want it, we have a framework that's going to support, as opposed to a piece of paper that the clinician or nurse or the treatment center offers you after 28 days. Do these 10 things for the rest of your life and you're good.
Right.
There's no
Which is probably true if you actually could do it.
There's I think one out of 100 million or a billion might get to do that, because it's a proven fact that to recover alone is darn near impossible.
Well, you know why, Murph? And I say this all the time. I believe the easiest way to change your life is just to be grateful. I teach people to say thank you before they go to bed and when they wake up.
Yeah.
I say if you can do it 30 straight days, you literally can change your life. I personally, it took me 9 months. I mean, people out there tell me, oh, I can do it.
Yeah.
Personally, it took me 9 months till every single day for 30 straight days that I could remember and execute on 0.1 second of an action item to think or say thank you every single day for 30 straight days. We're so far in our own way to recover for something that's addictive.
Yeah.
Like those 10 things, like you said, the odds are insurmountable.
Yeah. Well, and the drill at our company is this: our employees, our technologists, data scientists, we bring them to support group meetings. They've got to meet our patients that are on the platform. We also are a company that works here of people in long-term recovery, that we're not asking you to do something we're not personally benefiting from. So to have access to information, and then connectivity. You have Connected to Goodness in your book.
Yeah.
WEconnect. Is that ironic, or that we're sitting here today? We can do what I can't, like you had mentioned, me to we. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole drill here. all the key stakeholders in my recovery. There was no stakeholders in my recovery except for that piece of paper. But everybody from the clinician to the therapist to mom to dad will get a perfect view and get notified when my recovery activities drop below a certain threshold. So using technology for good is absolutely the coolest thing. And I'm inspired. I'm going way beyond, if you'd have told me 19 years ago that you'd be living in Seattle, Washington, not happening. Right. If you'd have told me 19 years ago you'd be a co-founder of a tech company in Seattle, wrong. You'd be funding a tech company. 45 employees, offices in a couple states. Holy smokes, is that beyond Murphy Jensen? Nice. Or is it? So I sold myself all these years based on fear and a frightening little boy at 8 years old.
And last question, I think.
And I hope.
Go ahead.
I make sense.
Yeah, of course it did.
Sorry.
But most importantly, I always say there's two things you can learn. One is to ask how you can be of service. Mm-hmm. And you live by that. Your company is built on that format. But I think the more important part, and it goes to your self-worth, it goes to your experiences, how do you advise people to have the courage to ask for help? How can, I go to places all the time and there's so much help around and everybody's so worried about giving that they're afraid to receive, and everyone has something they need help with.
Yeah.
Right? We all have, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Still today, I have things and I fight myself. I make a list every morning going, what do I need help with today? Not what I need to do.
Yeah.
Because getting help makes it so much faster. You cannot recover. That's why it's WEconnect, not iConnect.
Yeah.
But you cannot recover without help.
Yeah.
And the first step is saying, I need help. But okay, let's say you get to a point saying, I need help.
Yeah.
How do you actually do it? What advice would you give to someone?
To someone in early recovery, it's I would say, let's take a time out, for starters. Mm-hmm. But my mantra at every support group meeting, every therapy session, the willingness, I'm at the Sunset Marquee on Sunset Strip. Instead of the manager of the hotel calling the police, he luckily called an interventionist. And that interventionist asked me if I'd be willing to get help. For some reason, I said yes. Wow. And then Dr. Murphy at Brotman Hospital in Culver City asked me, would you be willing? So having the willingness to take direction. So my mantra has been in every area of my life, I need some help. I used to put on this front that everything was cool. It's not cool for anybody. Even Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos is putting on their pants one leg at a time, and I got that from my dad. He really helped me playing really good tennis players, but one leg at a time, and they need help with stuff. Everybody needs help with stuff. And how I perceive our company and our work is, our mission is to save lives. Our mission is to provide accurate outcomes data. We are generating a new business and a platform that's going to save lives, that already has proven with some of our users, 98% of over 7,000 recovery activities in 3 years. How does that happen? They had the tools. So how do I get someone to ask for help? Humility. For a hot second. Humble myself. I don't know is the greatest thing I can share with my boss. Well, let's get you the information you need to be successful. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. What did I know about interface designs? What did I know about technologists? And zero. Yep. But I was there to do one thing. If it's carrying the garbage out today, that's what Murphy's doing. This company was built, like you said, on one person helping another. Had I not taken someone in an outpatient program to a support group meeting, I never would have met my co-founder. Never. That never would have happened. So being of service, being humble enough to ask for help and take direction, man, I think the biggest thing, and not to get weird, what keeps me up at night is that we're all striving, including myself at times, to be someplace other than where we're at. The magic is happening right now. And what does that mean? This thing called recovery is the Powerball. You know, I heard in a support group meeting, what dollar amount could I give you to have another drink? There isn't one. There is not one. Now, the $1 billion. I can make that today.
Nice.
You can make that today. We all can make that today. Am I willing to ruin my life over this?
Not a chance.
Not a chance. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Because you have such great self-worth, right? And,
you know,
and
these are my push-ups.
That's it. That's it. And I love it. And, you know, if I was going to theme this out, there was no doubt that if you could just be humble, and everyone has shortages, voids, obstacles, and resistance in their life. Every single person.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to fight through it by yourself, right, simply take a step, take a time out, and think about humility. Think about, I can't do this alone.
So that's it right there.
That's it.
I was right.
We need to connect when we're asking for help.
Yeah.
Find somebody to connect with that sits in the situation or has knowledge that you need to effectuate it, and not only give you the knowledge, but be accountable partner with you to support you as you consistently create a new behavior.
Yeah.
And I, am a huge fan of yours as well, and I love the fact you can go from the French Open champion to saving millions of lives, which I believe is much more important.
This is the most important work of my life.
Yeah, and it'll continue on, and
Thank you,
I'm so glad we became friends.
Dude.
That's it, man. Murphy Jensen, U.S. French Open champion, but more importantly, humble, radically humble man who founded a great company to help others and then encourages you to ask for help. That would be here with WEconnect Health Management. Dave Meltzer, Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.